right, we are live on this beautiful Thursday night in the year 2022. Welcome. I remembered to hit go live. I think that's like 2 weeks in a row now. I've been able to actually successfully start the stream. Welcome, guys. Hope everyone is having a good week so far. You might notice when we're quiet, we got some slow jams going on in the background tonight. So feel free to tell us if you want the slow jams to be full blast, if you want them to be a little bit lower, if you want them to really just replace the stream, just have it be a lo-fi kind of stream session. Let us know that as well.
Or
let's go.
Can we not exist
Disney,
at all?
like just play in the background for us, like official Star Wars tunes.
Exactly.
We got John Williams on speed dial.
We're ready.
Right?
Let's go around the pyramid. Let's say hello. Let's welcome folks in as they join Thursday night. Let's start over with Jimmy. Jimmy, what's going on, my man? How has your week been?
What is up? My week has been real tough, classic work stuff, everything. You get a market walk and suddenly everything has to be perfect. And as soon as they leave, it goes back to normal. So that kind of stress that I deal with. What about you guys?
Ben?
I was stressed out in the tombs of Nagasado in the Old Republic. That's what's stressing me out. You go in overconfident, you think you know your ABCs of role-playing games and MMOs, and then you just get your tail whipped. I'm like, oh my god, I'm overpowered. Concentrate, Ben, here. You get so cocky, and I guess I'm trying to get into the groove of recording and commenting at the same time, make it a little bit interesting, and you forget to look at your health bar.
I get that.
Yeah, it's tough life.
I
Obviously,
get
Jim.
If
It's
I'll
tough.
tell you, for folks in the channel, I can say this with 100% honesty. I have watched part 1 and part 2 all the way through of Ben playing the Old Republic MMO. I have watched all of those episodes. I think episode 3 came out a couple minutes ago, right?
No, you can't tell me it's that interesting yet.
I'm hooked. I'm literally, as I'm watching it, I'm like, man, I gotta get in this game. I know the next expansion comes out.
We should all jump on it, guys. I'll be playing it with you. I'll create a new character for you guys.
I think I'll do it when they launch the new expansion. We should all do it together that week. We should do that. That'll be fun.
Let's do it.
That'd be fun. That'll be fun. You can watch me struggle through. Well, it was another eventful week of Star Wars. The big thing is going to be the Book of Boba Fett. There were some other small stories too that kind of broke later this afternoon. Before we start talking about the main event, the Book of Boba Fett, let's talk about what are you guys reading? What are you guys covering in Star Wars right now? We kind of spoiled it for Ben, I guess. But Jimmy, what are you reading? What are you into right now? What's got your Star Wars spider senses tingling here?
So I'm plowing through Vector Prime right now. I still have that. I'd like to show that off because I still have this wonderful hardcover of first edition, by the way. I'm about halfway through it, and I am really loving it. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen and how terrible it's going to get later on. But I also have a something in the mail that I got today.
All right.
Shockingly, somehow I will open this for you right now. I don't know how this got here. There's ice all over the roads. I'm in the middle of an ice storm right now, and Josh is getting the tail end of it too. He got the snow, I got the ice. But in this
Is
wonderful
it Star Wars
package.
related?
Oh, it most certainly is.
Okay.
All right, Ben, while he's opening that up, are you just playing Old Republic right now? Is that all you're
No,
into?
I'm trying to I was a little bit behind. I promised myself I would read the original Bounty Hunter Wars books, but I'm kind of lagging. I'm just started the third book yesterday, Hard Merchandise from 1999. So trying to get complete that reading before I get into Thrawn, the High Republic, all that stuff.
I like it.
Beautiful.
I like it. All right, Jimmy, come on. What do you got here? Hey, looking good.
Got my copy. This is freezing, by the way. It was out in the ice.
Hey, hold that up. Let's see how big it is. That's bigger than, it's a 10-hour book. So, yeah, that's a pretty good size.
For a
Guys,
YA, that's pretty big.
That's pretty big. Love
Jim,
that
I
cover, man.
forget how privileged I am in New York City when you get stuff like overnight when you order from Amazon. Sometimes it's hard to grasp. Like people have to wait for their parcels to arrive,
Well, this was supposed to arrive the day it released, but the weather postponed that. So also, I could have gotten it from Walmart because we got it in, and I think they put it out like 2 days early. But I'm not a fan of the Walmart exclusive cover. I like this one.
I'm not either. I agree. That cover's better.
This one is great.
Agreed.
I went with a vanilla cover as well.
Yeah. I think it's the right cover.
Oh, I see. It's right behind you.
And I see Nick is right behind the head. I see Nick is talking about some stuff from last night's episode. We'll get into here in a second. There's a lot to talk about, guys, when it comes to last night's episode of the Book of Boba Fett. And the title of this, if you guys didn't see it here, the title was, "Is there too much Mando in the Book of Boba Fett. That's kind of going to be one of the overarching themes in tonight's conversation. But of course, I want to start off with giving my thoughts on the episode. Is I don't put a review out because I don't get to watch it until late on Wednesdays, and so by that time I'm like, well, we're going to get on stream tomorrow anyway. Let's just talk about it then. Talk about it with the crew, and I love to kind of interact with fans in chat as well. So let me give you guys my quick summary of my thoughts on last night's episode, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty. I thought this episode was just a ton of fun. I'll start there. Like that, I'll lay that as the underlining message throughout this episode. Consistently, I did have a really big smile on my face. I was verbally, watching with my wife, I'm verbally calling things out like, oh my gosh, I can't. Oh, wow. I'm doing that kind of stuff, which is a really fun watching experience. It reminds me of like when you go to the theater and you see like a big Marvel movie or something, or even a big Star Wars release, and you're just, with the audience, you're gasping and oohing and awing together. So I love that experience. And I, got to have a lot of that in yesterday's episode. So that's like number one. I thought it was a really fun episode. Number two, there's a ton that happens. It's a really dense episode. Maybe even too many things going on, but so many characters introduced and visited with. We'll talk about that in a second. This is one thing I did say to Jimmy, though, before you got on, Ben, and I'll tell it to everyone here. And I'd love to get people's thoughts. I think the last two episodes have both been really, really good. I've had just a fantastic time watching them. I actually think episode 5 is superior to this 6th episode for one reason in particular. And I don't think this is really hotly contested, but it might be, it's kind of sound. I think Bryce Dallas Howard is a better director than Dave Filoni. And I think when you watch episode 5 from just like the technical perspective, it's a superior overall package in this episode. This episode had more like whoa moments, right? But I think last episode is still like the standard. And this didn't quite, or when I say the standard, I don't mean like every episode has to hit that level. I think that's like the perfect example. Episode 5 is the model. It's what all episodes should aspire to be as far as technical proficiency and storytelling. And this one was a little short for me, but still really fun. I know that was maybe didn't sound like what I just said. It maybe didn't sound as positive as I felt. I mean, I had a fantastic time watching the episode, but I still think 5 is kind of like the king of maybe all live Star Wars shows to this point. As far as one episode, it's one of the best episodes I've seen of any of these shows, and I think 6 had some really high moments. That's my summary. Let me go around and let's hear you guys. I didn't watch your reviews. I don't know what you thought. Let's start with Ben. Ben, the critic. Ben, the wise leader of the
Ben,
group.
the wise. Guys,
Ben
I'm missing
Kenobi.
my white hat. I'm missing my Paul. I'll hold this for the duration of my review, okay? Imagine this is white Paul, the Gandalf beard, the whole shebang. This is what I got to say, man. I judge this particular show by its own ruler. I'm not comparing it to other stuff that's out there in the TV streamverse of stuff that we're enjoying. For example, I just finished, Arcane. Am I going to compare Arcane to this latest outing of Mandalorian? Book of Boba Fett? Probably not, because one is clearly superior than the other. It's no sense comparing one to the other and say, oh, you see, Star Wars is not doing that. I'm not in that lane. I'm in lane of like homing in on the material that we have on hand and analyzing it on its own merit. I would agree with you, Josh, in saying that the previous episode clearly stands taller. I think Dave Filoni is still, in a way, an apprentice when it comes to live action. It's quite a different format from animation. It's 20 minutes longer. You elicit emotion differently with animated characters versus actors. Even though, as an animator, the way I was taught in school, you need to understand acting. We even took a course in acting to understand how people emote, when they're sad, when to pause line, and so forth.
Yeah.
But Dave Filoni still needs to get there. Ron Howard's daughter flew a tighter ship. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's a flawless episode, speaking of episode 5, but it's tight. It's solid. It's compact. If you don't nitpick, it's there. Like it's... Now, can we get the rest of the show to have quality of this particular episode? With this one, I felt like I would argue against being very dense and full of stuff. It was quite simple. And the line is of Din Djarin continuing right off from the previous episode, going to meet. And I enjoyed the fact that it wasn't hidden behind these kind of like shock value things, like hidden surprises. We knew where he's heading. We knew we're going to see Luke from the outset of the episode, and I appreciate that. It's a simple return to Grogu for reasons that we will discuss later on. A quick reprisal to Boba Fett and saying like, by the way, we're back on Tatooine. And as Jim had pointed out in his review, that last punctuated mini action scene at the end with the explosion kind of let us know, okay, things are going into full gear next episode. We need to resolve this season. I think this is a particular episode where the showrunners fell in love a little bit with their creation. We'll get to it. Jim, take it over.
So this was the greatest piece of Star Wars ever made, ever. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to rupture Ben's mind with that, but that is what I told my roommate. I was like, this is literally the best piece of Star Wars ever made. Don't question me on this. I will not be taking questions at this time. If you want to pull it up, Josh, I sent him a picture of like my tweets in order of like when I started watching the episode, just to see all of my reactions to everything on screen. And, you know, I do agree. Dave Filoni is not the better director if compared to Bryce Dallas Howard, but he's even said that himself. You know, he said in the making of The Mandalorian, he's like, I don't like directing live action because when I was directing the Clone Wars or the Bad Batch or Rebels, I can, if I want a character to do something, I can just go into the computer. I'm back. He said,
you can go in the computer and make him do it with the touch of a button, right?
Yeah, he can just go in there and animate it, do whatever he wants. You know, working with real people is a lot harder. Starting at the bottom is when I started watching the episode, and as it just goes up, you can just see how my mind just explodes through everything.
You can see who the real Disney shill is here, guys. We got yes. I'm losing my mind. Dave Filoni.
Let's see. So the yeses came about when Cobb Vanth opened the episode, and I was just going crazy. And then when we had we went and saw R2, I was losing my mind. Dave Filoni just won Star Wars. That was Ahsoka with Luke. And then, bro, what was the Order 66 flashback? I don't even know where having that. Wait, what is that? Was Cad Bane. And then, I was just going. I was doing backflips, man.
Well, let me.
And then, like, my last one at the very top is probably my final thought there, right above. I can't handle this episode.
You know, it was called out earlier by Seamus, and I echo it. Like, you did feel like a kid a little bit watching this episode, like just from a pure enjoyment standpoint.
This was me playing with action figures, a
little bit, and it is Dave Filoni, I think, playing with action figures a little bit. And I've heard them make that kind of comparison in the past. What I meant, you know, to talk to kind of lead into the theme of the episode, which is, you know, is there too much Mando? Is the show, you know, really matching what it was set out to be, which is the Book of Boba Fett show? When I said there was a lot going on, you know, Ben, you did call it. It actually is a pretty straightforward episode, and I agree. I think what I was trying to highlight was the constant change of scenery and characters and introductions. They're here. Oh, they're here. Oh, now that person's over there in the desert. They're here. It's like, whoa, okay. Like we're moving locations and character intros rather rapidly. Characters we all knew. There was no new character introduction, so in that regard, there didn't really require the same kind of setup. Hey, real quick, not to get us distracted here, but Nick is going to Disneyland.
Nice.
It's gonna be a ton of fun, man. I had a blast. I really did. If you've never been, it's really kind of.
Ooh, I want to make a quick comment on that about the lightsaber thing. One, I think it's like $200. You have to have like a reservation to do that. So
you can do it. You
could try doing that like right now.
I think you could do a day of the park if I recall.
Oh, you can't? Okay, good. Because I know before he was like, you gotta like try to reserve a spot. So
yeah.
Check on that.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be disappointed. So I'd rather you know that now.
Don't walk out of there with that lightsaber. Otherwise, we'll
fight them for it. Kick all the younglings.
There's a ton of stuff to buy there. Don't worry if you can't get in. There's like the cool Disney Legacy sabers, which are really fun.
Amazing, too. Yeah.
Anyway, you know, back to the episode. This departure in the last two episodes to a really Mando season 2.5 almost angle has had just a ton of conversation around it. You know, we kind of talked about this last week on the stream. You know, I made a video Monday talking about, you know, why did the show take such a departure? to really spend time focused again on Mando. And there are theories and great, opinions on this all over the place. And this, I will be the first to admit, I thought at the end of the last episode, when Mando said, I got to go visit a little friend, I did not think they were going to show that to us in this show. I thought they were going to show us what happened in the first episode of Mando season 3. I thought they were going to I thought that was a breadcrumb. I thought that was a trail. I thought that was a line they were giving us to say, hey, you're going to see what he did in that first episode of Mando season 3. But they said, no, like, that's what's next. We're going to tell you what's next, which caught me off guard. I did not expect them to spend so much time on the Grogu, training montage, and his experience with Luke. So that did catch me off guard, and it really did kind of solidify to me. I still believe the reason they've taken so you had a 7-episode show, you've taken 2 episodes to really catch us up to speed and update us on the Mandalorian on Din Djarin. To me, it still implies the next season of The Mandalorian will be shorter, and I think we'll have a different. It will be, I think, a very different tale. I think it'll be more focused on Mandalore, and I think it'll have more of a cohesive story as opposed to like side mission-y feel that season 1 especially had, where it was like, oh, we're gonna do this quest over here and this quest, and I think we'll see less of that. So that's all. That's my soapbox.
I'm curious, why do you think it'll be shorter?
Well, because I think you've already taken 2 episodes worth of content and stuck it here. I think it will be hard for them to fit 8 episodes. I'm viewing them as going to have to do a very Mandalore heavy show. And I think it's gonna be like a 6-episode arc, like almost like a mini series, to tell that. That's kind of where I'm going with it, but I could be wrong. It's just kind of how I feel. Okay. I'm sure I am wrong. Let's be honest here, guys.
I just wanted to know what your thought process was.
No, I think so. Let's be honest here. The Book of Boba Fett is 7 episodes, but the main story is really 5, right? It's the Boba Fett story is really 5 episodes. It does his flashbacks. It does his current state of affairs. And the last 2 episodes have been like the side prep. It's all going to tie in with this final battle in Tatooine. We can talk about that. But really the story is 5 episodes long. And 2 of those episodes are like 35, 40 minutes. So I think if they're going to tell a really focused story, they're going to want to do it in like 6 or 7 episodes. That's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
I see a lot of people online hoping for a 2-hour season finale, and I'm like, that's not happening.
That'd be wild. But anyway, before we get too off topic, I mean, that's kind of my vibe. I saw an interesting tweet today. I don't want to take credit for this thought, so I'm going to pull it up before I pass it over to you guys.
Sure thing.
It was by Around the Galaxy, who I believe have a podcast.
Nice.
Of some kind. I see some of their tweets on my feed, and
I follow him.
This one stuck out.
Podcast.
Okay, he said, remember when Clone Wars and Rebels had 2 to 4 episode arcs that fell outside of the main story? Yep, of course we do. Said, I'm not saying the last 2 episodes were those for Book of Boba Fett. I'm saying Book of Boba Fett is that separate arc in the larger Mandalorian show. And I agree with this. I think this is the correct. And I kind of alluded to this in last week's stream where I said, I think last week I said, this solidifies to me that Mando, it's the Mando-verse, it's the Mandalorian universe. And these characters are like little side stories in his kind of arc. They are definitely leaning in to the shared universe. It's feeling like this episode especially is like, hey, all these shows are intertwining, all these characters are meeting. Like this is a really shared space. And so to the complaint, to the intro of the show, is there too much Mandalorian in the Book of Boba Fett? I say no, but I have a feeling some people here might disagree with me. Let's start with Ben. Ben, what are your thoughts on the quantity of Mando in our Book of Boba Fett show?
First, I want to make like a small allusion to this particular tweet and our general discussion. I understand that we're living in this, comic book to screen adaptation world since the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man, right? And we understand that everything is now like streamlined. You from comic book you jump into a streamlined TV streamed show to an on-screen theater experience, and it's all supposed to be one huge narrative. I don't look at it this way. Maybe it's me playing the ignorance card, but I don't care what your plans are. What I'm concerned with as far as storytelling is involved is this is the show. This is the 7-episode format. and it needs to fulfill certain criteria by storytelling standards in order for me to be successful. You see what I'm saying? I don't have the foresight to look further and see, well, how is it going to turn out, and how are we going to view this particular episode 7 shows later? I might forget it by that time. I might not care. So for me, what's at stake now matters the most. And with this particular show so far, it feels that it's not that it's trying to be strategic and figure out what characters to utilize and where to show us that broader picture. I think, honestly, it's an identity crisis. I think that the showrunners are not planning this out, just like the sequel trilogy was blamed for not being fully planned out and have like one coherent storyline. Same is happening here, because Mandalorian, love it or hate all the cameos in it, it was a more wholesome experience. You knew who the main guy is. You knew why the rest of the Mandos came out later in the second season, like Bo-Katan and the rest of it, and the darksaber was introduced. It is still very much a part of his world. This is where Din Djarin lives as a character. So I think in general, Jon Favreau fulfilled the promise of giving us the Mandalorian show. Here, even when we see Boba Fett on screen, we go from Tuskens, we go to present time, we see the twins. From the twins, we jump to the cyberpunk kids. It doesn't know where it wants to be within the context of its own story. Forget the Mandalorian part. So this is what's the mixed signal here. This is what I'm finding the most confusing. This is the hardest pill to swallow. But what pulls me in as a fan is saying, look, the last 2 episodes are really Mandalorian episodes. I even made a joke about it in my reviews, right? But they're solid content. Let me focus on this, and let me see how they will address later shows in the future, because I do expect, by my criteria of what a good story is, you got to stick to your guns. You can't give me a Kenobi show and have like 4.5 out of 6 episodes focus on Vader. That's just not going to slide.
Yeah. Jimmy, let's pass it over to you.
So I have a few things, and I'm glad you guys spoke first, because it really added to what I wanted to say. First of all, that tweet, I really like that. I think that makes me appreciate the show even more now when I'm looking at it, because that's kind of what it felt like from the start. Mm-hmm. The Book of Boba Fett, to me, is just so they got the Mandalorian. The Book of Boba Fett is a DLC. That's what it feels like.
It does.
And I think that's okay. I don't think that's a problem. I do think the show was fully planned out before it went into development. So I think all these story arcs were planned. And I think I'm trying to hold off all of my judgment until we see the last episode, because I know I've seen a lot of the cast tweeting about that. They're all saying, when you see the last episode, you will understand the show. And I was like, okay, I will sit back and wait for that. Now, if the finale comes out and I'm still like, there's like 18 loose threads we forgot about, then I'll be a little quizzical as to why the show went the direction that it did. There is a lot of characters, you're right, like the twins, the cyberpunk gang, going to the Mandalorian and then jumping back to Boba. It is a little jarring and a little disorienting, but I'm still just going to be hopeful.
Din jarring.
And like, because we had like all this stuff that we were really excited for. Danny Trejo comes in to train him how to ride a Rancor. Haven't seen any of that.
That's coming. Happen? Don't worry.
Like, is that just going to happen at random? Like, I feel like, if anything, I think this show will take away from the future is that, and I always wondered about that, because everyone always theorized for so long, are we going to get flashbacks in this movie to this point? And I'm like, I don't know. Flashbacks are not a thing in Star Wars. Like, we really don't do that. So what I'm thinking is this show will show them that it is okay to tell stories from somebody's past, but just make that an episode or make that a show. Don't throw flashbacks into it. It doesn't really seem to work. I think more people dislike the jumping between time periods. I think more people dislike that than those of us that enjoy that, if that makes sense.
Jim, can I add something real quick?
Yes, please.
To what you were saying in terms of planning the show ahead of time, right? I think, let me kind of like step back a little bit and retcon what I was saying. I think that it's not that they weren't planning, it's what they were thinking through, what the thought process behind it was. Because I'm seeing in Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, live action side of Star Wars, a lot of prequel vibe. and particular vibe that I'm talking about, it's whether I'm a fan or not, it's not a part of this conversation right now. It's a buffet of ideas where, to me, it felt like, okay, let's pick this idea. I like that. Okay, I need Anakin Skywalker to fight Kenobi at the lava pit. That's the ending. That's what he has discussed with what's his name? Oh my God, Timothy Zahn, when they were writing the Throne trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of like he's picking and choosing different ideas and trying to mush it together into one psychotic and say, this is what I want. I want a combination of these ideas. I hope they will come out. This is my plan. Let's roll with it. You know what I mean? So when you're looking at Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, I'm sure they thought of it through. But my sentiment is that not all of it works together.
No, I get that for sure.
I respect that that's what they were trying to do. I'm not going to question that. You know, this is my taste. This is what I thought. But what the stuff that they went with, it just...
I saw.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to discredit like what your comment about that. I was just thinking, I was like, I think it was thought through. I think the problem is like,
I got you.
You know, it's like you plan something, and then when you start doing it, it never always goes according to plan. So I think that's exactly probably what has happened. But if anything, I think this is again a minor attachment to the Mandalorian. So the reason they threw in those episodes. So to the ultimate question we had to start: is there too much of the Mandalorian in this? Probably, but I think they're trying to get his arc underway and get some of those questions out of the way from the end of season 2. So season 3 can start with the real story they want to tell. So they don't have to go through and finish up what happened in season 2.
What I think, you know, it's interesting. There's a couple things at play here for me. I think one of which is what's currently happening in the Book of Boba Fett is a side effect of the name chosen for the show and the marketing material surrounding it. You know, I think it was Kyle Katarn who said something yesterday along the lines of like, when I go to watch every week's episode, I don't think of the name of the show. I just think like, oh, I'm going to go watch some new Star Wars tonight. Right. And so then it's like, oh, in this episode, we're focused on the Mandalorian. In this episode, and I totally appreciate that perspective. And this is where I think maybe Star Wars had a misstep with their whole marketing and naming convention behind the show. Because what I think a lot of fans thought was it would be the like definitive Boba Fett standalone series. Right. And there's been moments of that. You know, episode 2 sticks out to me as a phenomenal Boba Fett piece of content. But now we are, you know, of 7 episode show, only 5 episodes will really have that character in it. And so it kind of leads this weird feeling. And I'll play the counterexample. So Clone Wars bounces all over the place. It follows different troops and different heroes and different villains at different moments. But that feels natural because the show is called The Clone Wars and it covers an entire era of characters. I think what could have literally saved this show if they wanted to use it as a platform for shared Star Wars stories might have been some sort of different marketing and naming style. You could have called it like Adventures of the New Republic or something, you know, whatever you want to call it. Adventures in Tatooine or something, you know, that's a dumb name, but you get the point. And then it becomes, these are all the stories that are related to this character. So you have episodes with Luke and episodes with Boba and episodes. Do you guys know what I mean? I feel like that little change might have
100%. Yeah. 100%. You can't sell me a Holy Bible and I start flipping pages and it's like, Buddha said, I'm like, hold on a second. I thought I'm getting a copy of the Holy Bible. So, what's going on here?
Yeah.
You know?
And so I think they could have maybe saved a lot of the backlash here if you just make that slight tweak. You say this show is adventures in the Old West, you know, and you make
what you're pointing out perfectly. What I wanted to express is that this is where the conflict is. They are approaching it as, you know, as this like a business strategy of what show would have maximum effect on the audience and will succeed, but then there is a branding aspect of it. Then call it properly, so you don't send mixed signals to the fans.
Yeah, because it matters when you go to your point. Like, there's silly analogies, but if I order the Baconator from Wendy's and there's like 2 slices of bacon, it's like, you know, but there's a delicious creamy jalapeno sauce on there. I'm like, well, this burger is good, but it's really like a jalapeno cheeseburger with some bacon. But you told me it was a, you know, Baconator, and so you might be like, it's a really tasty burger. But if they just would have called it the creamy jalapeno bacon cheeseburger, you're like, oh, this is delightful. So I think that little change, funny enough, could have made all the difference in the world. because there have been some, I think if you take a step back, there's been some just really great fun times in Star Wars in the last 6 weeks. Episode 2, I think we all raved on. Episode 5, I think it's just fantastic television. Episode 6 has just a lot of fun going on. So to me, it's like, you have this weird conflict online, this weird tension, this weird kind of backlash, when a lot of it is just because, like, it felt like, to Ben's point, they set out and said, you know what, we're going to tell the definitive Boba Fett story. And they started writing, okay, how do we make this fit? How do we make it fit in canon? How do we make it fit with this older aging actor? And they wrote it and they were like, we got like 3 hours of content here. And they were like, okay, well, we spread that 3 hours out and then we pull in Din Djarin and then it leads to this epic conclusion. And that might not be a bad, that might be, this next episode, could be phenomenal. And I think the last 2 episodes have been great. But I think that's where you see that kind of natural play and tension, is that the show is called Book of Boba Fett. It really is like adventures in Tatooine, adventures of, it could have rogue adventures, bounty hunter adventure, that's what it is. And it's fantastic. But it's not a Boba Fett show. There's Boba Fett themes, and I love the character. And I personally have not had a problem with some of the characterizations of him. I know people have said, oh, they changed him. I don't have those complaints. I think they've given him a lot of heart. I think they've connected him to his roots. And by his roots, I mean his Jango Fett connection, which for a prequel era fan like me is just beautiful to see that actor get both those roles, see the flashbacks to Camino. I think there's been so many successful things. But from a cohesiveness perspective, it has been a little different. And I think you fix it all if you just call it a different name and you market it as like, hey, this show is going to be adventures in Tatooine. It's going to touch Cobb Vanth. It's going to touch Luke. It's going to touch Boba. It's going to touch Fennec. It's going to hit everyone. Exactly. Like Journey of the Bounty Hunter. Yeah, there you go. It's going to have Cat. It's going to have everyone. And I think our expectations are different. That. Yeah, we should. That's what we should call the show, Journey of the Bounty Hunter. But anyway, that's just my thought on an easy fix, a small fix they could have made that would probably change our conversation today. I don't know. Am I crazy there, guys? I know, I don't know.
I'm totally on board with you. If you give me kind of like, how do you call it? A Swiss table where you go in, like it's the whole buffet and you pick up whatever you want. Yeah. And just like, hey, I want a little bit of crispy chicken wings here and a little salad over here. You pick what you want from the show that advertises, look, we could have these mini series of comic books that Marvel is doing currently, right? The Bounty Hunters, it focuses one on each bounty hunter. It's the same story here.
All right, quick. Nick joined late. I didn't even think about this. What's your number grade for the episode? 1 through 10. I'm gonna give it an 8.
A good 8, yeah.
I'm gonna say a 9 or a 9.5.
Okay, very good.
That 0.5 being, the transitions are a little wonky.
You have a little bromance with Deepfake Luke. We got you.
Hey, I gotta tell you one thing.
We'll talk about that in a second. Not a terrible show whatsoever. But it's not a Boba Fett show. I think it's fair.
I'm agitating you, Jim. I'm getting you hyped.
I can't. Can you really say it's not a Boba Fett show when only, sure, there's 7 episodes, but 5 of the 7 will be about Boba. Therefore, by technicality, it's a majority Boba Fett.
It's true, but it doesn't feel like
that's just me being narcissistic.
No, that's why you're that's what we're here for, to have these conversations. And it's fair. He will be the main. He is had the most screen time. But it is weird that the character who's the show is named after in the last 2 episodes combined has had 1 minute and like 13 seconds of screen time, which, by the way, by the way, we've seen that done in Clone Wars, we've seen it done in Rebels. I'm totally okay with that. Again, I think it's just how you brand the show.
I also think it's worth noting that like he wasn't in episode 5 at all. And while he's in episode 6, he doesn't speak. Classic Boba Fett style.
I saw someone tweet. They were like, for all those fans who are complaining about them changing Boba Fett, he's right back to where he was in the original trilogy, standing in the background, not saying anything. And I was like, that's funny.
It's pretty great.
That's clever. But, we said a lot of negative things. And I hope fans haven't left here thinking like, I don't enjoy the show, because I do enjoy the show. I enjoyed it a lot. And I said it earlier for folks who joined late. There were a lot of times yesterday I was just smiling and talking and having a great time. These are just things that I see as a viewer that could have been adjusted to make a better experience. I think, they go into it next time, you don't, and I have a feeling when they introduce Boba Fett back into the Mandalorian in season 2, They had this vision. I think when they put pen to paper, they realized like, okay, well, we want to add some Mando in here as well to make this, finale pop. And then it kind of, to me, changes kind of the feel of the whole show. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on the matter. That's where I'm at. Fun episodes, good times. I'm really excited for the finale. Let's see how long it is. I want to talk about Luke. We're going to transition now. And this is going to be a twofold conversation. Do A, we like to see Luke. B, the technology behind Luke. I'm going to start with the technology perspective. I think it's been a vast improvement from what we saw in season 2, The Mandalorian. Yes. I'm kind of frightened by deepfake technology at this point. People can literally, put me in prison for murder if they just deepfake my body in these cameras, and I would totally believe it because they are looking so good. I'm mad impressed with the technology. I still think I would tend to prefer that they just got a younger actor. I think I'm still in that camp, just because it kind of gives you more freedom in storytelling because you got a live human. You don't have to worry on the technology. But it's impressive. I can't lie. I'm very impressed by the technology with Luke. I think the one thing that felt a little off to me was the voice. I think the voice sometimes didn't feel synced up just a little bit. I mean, that's nitpicking. I mean, that was the one thing.
Yeah, I noticed a few times when he was speaking, like there were like cracks in the audio because it's all computer generated, which I still think is incredible.
The voice is computer generated. It's not synthesized from Mark Hamill.
So it is a little bit of Mark Hamill, but what it is they literally they went through all of the original trilogy, and I think maybe some of the other stuff that Mark has done when he was younger, and they literally synced it all into a computer that can mimic his voice, so it sounds like he's speaking without it sounding like like the Microsoft robot or Siri or something.
Yeah, and so in the making of the season finale of the Mandalorian, they talked about that, and yeah, it is. It's not his voice.
Yeah, they fed like, I don't know. I'm probably going to guess a random number that's completely wrong, but say like 10,000 lines that he's said in movies.
It's like machine learning. The machine.
I gotta tell you, I'm more convinced with the sound aspect of the effect than the visual, because as you guys pointed out, in the beginning when we see the first close-up of him sitting there and meditating with Grogu, it's spot on. It's spot on when he's not talking, because this is where most of the face is moving. When he's standing there and he has that look in his eyes, the hair is perfect. The body proportions are perfect. But even there, because they're dealing with natural light environment, particular angles where he stands, the way that this 3D mask is being lit by digital light in relationship to the real light in the foreground and the background doesn't match. And his face sculpt begins to look different. In some shots, I even noticed that the projected face is larger than the size of the skull. So it automatically, this is what they teach you in film schools, even to an untrained mind, to people who don't watch these blue screen behind the scenes making off kind of sci-fi movies, they will pick it up right away because the eye is trained to understand these kind of things. So I would say there were scenes where either the technology was able to process that particular angle plus combination of lighting, or they went by hand and did it to such an effect that in some shot it looks far better than the others.
Yeah, there's one shot where he's staying on the riverbank with Ahsoka. You can tell because like the wind's blowing. You can literally see the feathered mask on the outside of his face from when they put it over it. But regardless, such a vast improvement. And to your point, Josh, yes, deepfake technology is cool, but extremely dangerous.
In 5 years, I mean,
it's gonna be even then, because like when this deepfake, when it first started coming around, so many celebrities were getting in a lot of trouble because people were deepfaking like adult content with them, and it's extremely dangerous. If done correctly, like this, as long as you have permission from the actor to use their face and to create that character, I think it can be done. It's just, some people are going to take it too far.
The word I'd put on seeing young Luke, and I wonder if Ben feels the same way as an older fan, it's surreal to me. It's a little bizarre. It's like, this is crazy to me that in certain shots, it's like they got young Mark Hamill in the show and he's, in Star Wars again. And that's, to me, it's kind of surreal. I don't know. I thought I was one of those people. I'm wrong. I will take egg in the face here. I was a firm believer that we would never see Luke again. I thought Luke was going to be in the finale of Mando, and I thought we were just never going to see him again. I thought they kind of just broke the bank on let's do this deepfake thing, get the big pop-off fan moment, and then, we'll let comics and other stuff fill in the gaps there for them. Like, that was it. I was completely wrong. I don't know. I'm stunned that they brought him back and had a pretty considerable scene with him in it. Let's talk about this, guys. Technology besides, did you like this version of Luke? Did this, as Legends fans, as people who really love the original trilogy and love that character Luke, how did this moment hit for you guys? I just want to hear that, and I'll start with Ben as the original trilogy super fan here. How was it to see Luke? I mean, did it ring
true? So very
quickly,
guys, it's when you grow up with a certain movies as a kid and you watch them over and over and over again. I would literally watch each movie several times a day, literally. And you recognize Mark Hamill's young face. And I particularly compared him to my oldest cousin, who looked a lot like Mark Hamill when he was in his 20s. Once again, seeing it here, it is no longer a cameo. It is contextualized. He has a deeper part to play. We see an entire chapter transplanted from the Jedi Academy trilogy onto the screen. He's establishing the Jedi Order. That was nothing but delight for me to see. But once again, there's two parallels in which I'm watching it. The first one is that, dude, just enjoy it. This is pretty dope, swell content on screen, crafted by artists who sweated and bled to bring it on screen for us, for our delight, for our enjoyment. And man, they pass with flying colors. It grabs you emotionally. The things that Luke says to Grogu kind of have weight, kind of like the original trilogy teaching and passing on the teachings of the Force. And then there's a second part of it. There's this attachment to the effect, to how things supposed to look, to young Mark Hamill, that work against the story. There's this impulse to bring a beloved character because fans want to see him. And once again, that particular shot does not pertain to Boba Fett in any way. No matter how you justify, for me personally, I don't need to see the last episode or the last two episodes to see how it all fits together. I'm already deep enough to understand what kind of water I'm in. It just doesn't belong. So there's two things in there. It's there's a conflict of interest of what the show tries to do for itself. Guys, I'll read you at the end of my piece what my brother said. And he's impartial. He's a much lesser casual Star Wars fan than I am. He also grew up as a kid with it. But the quality of the content is undeniable, and I just ate that. I'm like, Ben, all of that sweetness dissipates your inner critic. I'm like, yeah, just give me more. Let me be a shill. Let me be a Disney simp. I'll simp for Luke all day when it's done so well. This is what my brother had to say. He just saw the episode literally because I was nagging him. He goes look, I just saw the episode and essentially it's a dope episode. Here are my thoughts. It almost completely undermines Boba Fett and shows that he's weak. Boba Fett to me turned into some really silly bleep. Mandalorian got a bigger snack than Boba Fett. 20 minutes into it, I said to myself, Filoni directed this episode. Luke's deepfake is 1,000 times better than the whole episode gravity to it. So it adds gravity to the episode. That bounty hunter you said was going to be in the show eventually looks raw as a bleep. And I love that the lone wolf and the cub homage at the end. I don't know if you guys don't know that reference. Choose the ball, choose the sword. It's from a famous samurai film. Yeah. So even he, who's very casual, is Star Wars is Disneyfied now. I don't know. I'm not gonna check it out. I don't need to see the Bad Batch and stuff like this. I don't watch kids' cartoons. He saw this, and this is impressing him for somebody who pays only a casual, tribute to Star Wars.
You can't help but, to your point,
and you can't deny that. It's you can be a critic all day and be like, well, I believe, I think the writers of the show are, or you could say, dude, just give me more of that cake.
And Disney knows how to do that. You see that a lot, I think, with the Marvel. There's a lot of the Marvel projects where it's I see glaring holes in them. And it's man, a lot of the times they are just giving us the most dumbed down, stupid, crowd pleasing, but I'm there every opening night seeing them like everybody else, having a great time. So, when it's done well, Spider-Man No Way Home is a perfect example to me of something that, like, if you sit there and think about it, it breaks apart extremely quickly. But it's so darn fun. You can't help but love it. And at the end of the day, it's like, there's McDonald's and there's a Michelin star restaurant. And, McDonald's can put out, I'm not saying the Mandalorian is the equivalent of McDonald's, but I'm saying, like, there's lower class or food with holes in it or whatever that, like, it's just executed so well. Yeah, I know it's not good for me. I know it's not perfect, but man, I'm just having a great time eating these fries. This is just as fun as they get. And that, they nailed it with this episode. I mean, they totally nailed it.
I think, with Luke involved, and I think Ben might really appreciate my answer here. First time I saw Luke was probably 2001 when my mom got A New Hope for me to watch when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And I loved Luke. I was 5.
5?
I'll say the first time I saw
remember that.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
I remember when she brought home The Phantom Menace, like when it came out on VHS, April of 2000. I was 4 years old.
Nice.
But no, that's how I started. So, I saw Luke and I was like, wow, this guy's awesome. And I grew up with that and it was awesome. But the problem was by the time I saw him in Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, it was older Luke. It was experienced Luke. I never got to see prime Luke as it was happening.
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi came out in 1983. I didn't get to see it till 2001. It's a big gap. So now seeing in his prime Luke in real time as it's being released for the first time, I'm kind of like in a surreal time jump. Like I'm actually getting to kind of go what you went through and seeing it as it happened. So that's what I really appreciate about it. It's being able to be like relive moments from older fans as a younger fan. And I think that's really
an interesting
special
perspective.
Yeah. That's the thing is just really cool about it. Cause it was like, I never got to see that as it happens. And now I do. And I'm just like, this is fantastic. And then seeing
a real quick question.
Yeah.
Seeing the duel at the end of the Return of the Jedi, Vader and Luke Skywalker, by today's standards, do you feel like it's the ultimate version of like Luke in his prime time, or did you feel that the ending of Mandalorian season 2 showed us a more like a badass, more cutting edge, more better choreographed version? Which one of the two did you like more?
I could say for me,
go for it.
The episode 2 finale is like the kind of pinnacle of like an experienced Jedi. So like this is what a Jedi who's reached potential can look like in combat as a master. Then this episode kind of showed finally what Luke would look like as a young master, which is kind of a thing that I think we only saw like old Luke as a master in The Last Jedi, right? And that kind of perspective. Yeah. This to me is kind of like, this is Luke full circle as like the master restarting this Jedi Order that we've seen his father come from. And so to me, like there's kind of that definitive Luke experience where it's like, oh, this is like him kicking it off again, which is kind of wholesome.
But Josh, in terms of quality of that like specific Return of the Jedi scene in terms of its execution and comparing it to the Mandalorian season 2, did you feel that both holds together, or you feel like one aged and one is like a more modernized take that you'd rather go to?
I don't know, Jimmy, you had time to think about this. I mean,
I think I prefer the Return of the Jedi fight. The Mandalorian fight is great, and I think that it's still the same guy. Like it's still Luke regardless, but I think the difference in those fights is that in Return of the Jedi, there's more raw emotion at work. Luke is like accepted. Yep, this guy is my dad. I have to try to fix this now. I'm going to refuse to end it this way. I am not going to turn to the dark side. And even then, like he brings up Leia and he's like, I guess I don't have a choice here. Like, I'm not going to let you hurt anyone else. So I think, the emotion and just what comes out of that fight is much stronger than the hallway scene from The Mandalorian.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely serve different purposes. The hallway scenes are kind of like the modern day Star Wars version of like the superhero landing. It's your money shot. It's your money shot. Yeah. I mean, there's Maul in the hallway in season 7 of
that's a great scene.
It's a great scene where he's just walking down, chopping people in half with door frames. There's your Vader. I mean, that's probably the most iconic. That's probably, and this might be a hot take, but I would say the Vader hallway scene is probably your most iconic new Disney Star Wars scene.
Yeah.
Like if you take one frame, it's that scene. I mean, it's
undeniable. Also,
it is. And then they gave basically Luke that same treatment. I think the score in that scene is phenomenal as well. Just that's a funny aside. I think the build up in the score as he enters the ship and makes his appearance up the elevator is phenomenal. Anyway, there's a bunch of nuggets in this episode we haven't really talked about. There's a bunch of little things here that I think are really fun to discuss. Let's start with a big one, which is Grogu's background.
Yes,
which
please,
I did not
thank you.
think the show was going to dive into, but we saw a 501st Order 66 flashback, which, to Ben's earlier point, continues to connect the show to me so heavily with the prequels. I mean, it feels light in line with that prequel Clone Wars era, and it's obviously the creators of this show were deeply tied to that era as well.
Yeah.
And so we see this young Grogu. I do not know the context here because, frankly, it looks like he's being protected and guarded as the clone troopers are seizing. So who saved him? I've heard some people speculate that he's watching that from a different location, like he's watching the HoloNet video of whatever. I've seen a lot of theories.
The security footage.
Yeah, he's watching the security footage, and that's why it's kind of baiting you because it keeps flashing to him, and the lights are blinking, then it flashes to that. But it's not. He's not really there. He's just witnessed it himself.
I am very angry that Dave Filoni has managed to do it again. Every time it's, you want to see Order 66?
Yeah, he loves that.
You want to see it again? I'm like, oh, you just want me to cry every time.
It was great in the Bad Batch, by the way. Sorry, go ahead.
It was awful, and I cried. Like, we were like, 7 minutes into that episode? I was like, oh, this hurts. But I love that. I think the cool thing about it is, like, I want to say those are practical suits. Like, because in Revenge of the Sith, the helmet was practical. The rest of the suit was a green screen morph suit. So the rest of the armor was CG'd. So I want to say this is like real practical armor, which finally, and I really want to wonder if they put Tamira Morrison in there.
So fun fact, real quick.
Oh, and the Barriss Offee thing.
Yeah. Did you see this, Ben? See this little circle up here?
What's that?
It's Barriss Offee's symbol.
Yeah.
It's and this screenshot might be kind of hard to read on the stream, but it's very clear on certain HD shots that that's what that logo is.
But it's also on the door to the left.
Hold on a second.
Yeah. Well,
why would she have a logo?
What's up?
Why would she have a logo?
I have no idea why she had the logo. I was thinking the same thing, but she does.
Yeah, she has one, and it was on the door to her personal room in the Jedi Temple. I will point out that it is also on the other door.
It is. I think it's a wink and a nod to the fans. I think that's all we see.
Because now everyone's like, "Oh, Barriss saved Grogu." I'm like, I don't think
that's the case at all. Wouldn't that be a twist? I mean, there's a lot of speculation she'll be in the Ahsoka show, and that to me might have been your little Easter egg. Like, you might see her again. Yeah. That's kind of one thing that I got lost in all this. The Order 66 flashback was I do love the connectivity that it sounds silly, but Order 66 to me is like a definitive Star Wars moment as a huge fan of the prequel eras. Revenge of the Sith being my favorite movie. When I continue to see that scene played out in other forms of Star Wars, it's weird, but it connects me back. It connects it all to me. Like it has this connection string throughout eras and decades.
Button, man. He knows what you're going to respond to.
Exactly. One other thing that just to talk about the prequel era, I'll be honest with you guys again. I look silly. This is why I don't make prediction content because I'm way off. I had no idea that Ahsoka was going to be in this episode. I never would have guessed it. I would never have guessed. Like, and she was just kind of there. Like, they didn't make they just were like, yeah, she's kind of monitoring Luke because she is senior to Luke. Like, it sounds funny because obviously Luke was there long before, but she has been around longer than Luke has. She obviously was trained by his father. And it's just like, it's again surreal. I don't know what to say about that. It's like, this is just goofy. Like, I'm just seeing these characters all connect. And for her to just kind of pop up in the episode was like, oh wow, like this is it. This is just this big shared universe they created, and people are gonna be popping in and out whenever they want.
I think that was something they wanted to do because like we've for so long wanted Luke and Ahsoka to interact with each other. So finally seeing that just
See, Jim, this is again where I just can't completely take my critic hat off. I don't like when you start pulling things into your story because fans might respond, because it's like killings in Game of Thrones just to get those ratings high, have the hands talking, like agitated. When my man Viper was murdered in that show, I responded in a way that I never respond to anything in my life before. I literally got up from my bed, we paused the show with my brother, and I started screaming, like, what the bleep, man? Like, what the hell? Why would you do this? Because it pissed me off, not that my favorite character was gone and I had to say goodbye to him. It pissed me off because I know why he did it. And it wasn't in service of the story. It was there to get that. Like, Pum, I'm going to put the show over here. Let's get those greens rolling. Let's get the money for the show. It's going to get people talking for years to come. I mean, that's what is happening partially here with a much minor offense because he's managed
no one died.
I'm sorry?
Because no one died.
No. Because he brings her in and he gives her piece to say. He says, like, look, this is why I didn't trade Grogu, because he chose Luke.
She wasn't just there for shock factor.
They're contextualizing it there, but you know when things are being plugged and are adding extra fat to a story, they're supposed to just shoot forward.
I think for me, it's one of those things. It's like it was going to happen eventually, either in the Ahsoka show or at some point. They were going to have both of them discussing Grogu at some point. So we got it. But it's out of the way now.
Question how it's done. I will always question, like, hey, does it feel like it's just pieces assembled together like a buffet, or is it the author saying, dude, I have an idea for a story. I'm going to start here. I'm going to end here. And I'm going to have the most sharp tool to create it, right? That maximum effect to take you there and no extra fat. And you're going to be blown away. That's basically Stephen King.
Yeah, and I'm very much going to look forward to the behind the scenes of the Book of Boba Fett because I need some answers. Yeah, what's the next point? I've already forgotten. There's
I'll help you here. I think, to kind of maybe side with both of you here a little bit. What Ahsoka being in this to me does, it solidifies this new Republic era. I think that's what they're officially calling it in Star Wars, is the New Republic. As a shared lived-in universe where these characters just pop up in each other's space like it's no big deal. Like Ahsoka will be there with Luke, and I think I saw it come on here by GFet that I hope that's not the first time Luke and Ahsoka met. I guarantee it's not.
No, yeah,
and we're going to see that happen. I'm sure we'll see that. And so the idea is like, I can make a really solid argument that, like, yeah, Ahsoka would have a vested interest in Luke. She has a strong personal family connection, as well as an obvious obligation as Force users to stay in touch with him. And so she monitors him, and she's there, watching his progress. So I can make a good argument either way. I think what's amazing to me, and to tip my cap, whether we like it or love it, what Disney has built out here in this New Republic era is quite fascinating. This is like another era of Star Wars akin to the High Republic, akin to the prequel era, akin to the Old Republic era, or Old Republic. Yeah, I mean, akin to the original trilogy era. It's becoming a new era of Star Wars told basically completely through TV shows, and is building its own arc, its own starting point, its own kind of Robert Downey Jr. and Din Djarin, who kind of sets the universe in motion and leads it. And and it's spun off its own webs with Ahsoka, with Boba Fett. And we will eventually see, I think, their own kind of end to that era. And I think that's kind of fascinating that they just did that. They didn't come out and say, hey, we're building the New Republic initiative. It's going to take place over 10 shows and 5 years and 10 seasons. They have just slowly kind of crafted this own space in Star Wars, like this, with their own characters, with their own motivations, with their own struggles. I mean, that's why it was kind of cool. Like, to me, one of the things I thought about with too many people, like, I don't think Cobb Vanth had any business being in this episode. Not because I don't like him, but because, like, it felt like it would have fit a lot better in earlier episodes. Like when they were, Boba was trying to, like, I wish him and Boba would have interacted maybe earlier in the show. I love that character. I wish Cad Bane would have been here a little sooner as well. All that aside, it is fascinating to me that these characters all live, interact, and occupy the same space. It's just like they've built they've carved out their own little era of Star Wars, which I think is kind of fun. Like independent of other eras. It has its own kind of beginning and end, which is, I don't know.
I'm going to go a little lore heavy with this because I think we do need to discuss the Cobb Vanth Cad Bane situation a little bit at least.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, especially with Cobb Vanth, does he need to interact with Boba? I think so. I think it'd be really damn cool considering he used to have his armor. But I think the other thing about it is like, it's kind of hard to deal with that, because I think the only reason that Boba knows where Cobb Vanth was in The Mandalorian is because of where he was with the Tuskens. Outside of that, it's probably not a focus. He got his armor back from him. He really has nothing else to do with him. Cobb Vanth has nothing to do with Boba Fett because he's going to stay in Freetown. He has no real reason to leave. And everyone in Mos Espa and Mos Eisley kind of just discounts Mos Pelgo. It doesn't really exist anymore. It's its own thing. The inclusion of Cad Bane is unexpected, but I really, really enjoy it.
I do too. I just I wish it wasn't, and this is just, could I have done it better? Probably not. I'm an idiot. But I kind of wish they would have set this up earlier, because now it feels, and this is maybe just me oversimplifying it, but it feels like, okay, we've introduced a big character into the fold, one that has history with Boba Fett. You would think the Boba Fett show, would have some tension building between these two characters before a final interaction in the finale. And we never got that. And I guarantee you they're going to beef in the next episode, and it'll be probably a dope moment where they kind of, hey, but Cad Bane coming in and killing this new sheriff has very little impact to me. Because
I don't think he's dead.
Well, he did not kill Cobb Vanth. He killed the other dude. I
The
think
deputy. I'll get to
I'm
him.
sorry, he killed the deputy. I think that dude is gone. Okay. It was a great scene, but to me, great. I also really like the practical effects they used for that. But to me, it's like, okay, like this is a really cool addition, but like, it feels a little weird that it's just happening at this very last second entry point. Like we could have had some good back and forth.
He
right?
should have been there earlier.
That's what I think. I don't know. I'm like, not that I'm going to complain he's here now, but it was kind of like, I don't know. I feel like, instead of the twins who provided almost nothing to the show.
Yeah, really.
Or, and I'm cool for like pulling the twins in as like his first opponent to overcome, but he didn't really overcome them. They kind of just
bounce.
Here's a Rancor. Like, I don't know. I just feel like they should have built up some more tension. I think the bombing that ended yesterday's episode was a cool little, that solidifies it. Like it's getting real now. We're killing innocents, but it just feels like it's coming to an end, and it's like, boom, there's the motivation. Big guy's back. Boom, time to fight. It's like, okay, well, we could have planted these seeds maybe a little earlier. I don't know, but that's just my kind of thought there.
Cad Bane had a whole lot more reasons to be in this show than Luke Skywalker or Ahsoka.
I agree.
Yeah. Bounty hunters hiring the best hired guns for Pikes to resolve this conflict.
Yeah.
Where is Bosk? Where is,
is he coming? Do you guys think he's coming?
Yeah, he should.
Maybe.
I mean, we don't know, but he should. Maybe they're leaving them for the last maximum impact thing because they think that's what the story should, be the climatic part of it. But I wanted to trace back a little bit earlier to what you said, Josh, how they are now creating this one connected universe by using, these popular characters. I think that works a lot better when you carve out a new chunk of the galaxy like they did with the High Republic, and now you have the creative license because you have all the characters and parallel events happening. There is Marcho and Ro over here, that he's trying to accomplish something with an Nihil here, and there's Drangir conflict over here, but Drangir conflict really relates back into and it starts spinning its own web, and then you say, I understand. And what's happening with popular characters that have already established lore, forget the legends, just the fact that we have 9 movies plus the sequels, and all the show from the content from the animated shows, which are considered part of the canon, there's enough material to say where they should go in terms of ideas, in terms of stories.
I get you.
And the way that they seem to be mushing them together, it seems like not everybody's on the same board. It seems like not every of these storytellers are connected into this Star Wars and saying, okay, well, I can't do with this character here what I was supposed to because it's not the proper time. We started filming Book of Boba Fett. I think Cad Bane needs to come in really, really, really early because he's part of this whole Bounty Hunters Guild. He's really a prominent character. I think there should have been a lot more foresight, or they should have delivered the show where it's completely entirely new, which is obviously not what we're talking about here. I think it works less creating a connected universe when you're playing with established characters. This is something that Star Wars Theory mentioned, and I agree with him. If you're playing in the sandbox where creators came before you and set something up, You don't just sweep it off the table and put something else there just because you think it's going to create maximum effect for your televised show and get your ratings high. You need to pay attention, because that adds to the believability of these characters. And we say, oh, you see how we're talking now? We're saying, hey, would Luke show up in this part here? But Cad Bane kind of makes sense because we know the story. We're in it. And these people are creating the show. I think they need to be a little bit more into it and connect it a little bit more as a creative group and have more foresight. It's just not there. It doesn't add up.
You know, one thing I wonder, guys, as we're having this conversation, is there going to be a second season of the show?
I think so.
Most likely.
So in the next episode, there might not be any real resolution on these plot points. I assume we're getting a battle scene between the Pikes. But in theory, some of these pieces they're laying could have maybe future payoffs or, you know, future revisits. To me, let's take a step back here because there's so much to talk about in this episode. When it comes to Cad Bane, what did you guys think of the design? The first time we're seeing him in live action, I thought it was executed really, really well. And we'll talk about maybe some backlash. But let me hear you guys first. What did you guys think about the actual design?
I loved it and was instantly afraid of him.
Yeah, he's scary as heck.
Like the second, I don't know what it was about that. Like you hear the wind chimes and Cobb kind of looks over his shoulder. I was like, oh, what's happening now? And you see him so far away, and instantly I was like, that's Cad Bane. Oh my God. And you see, because I saw the hat and I was like, it's Cad Bane. There's no one else it could be. So he walks up. I love that he keeps his eyes down for that so long. Because like kind of keep the illusion. You hear his voice, you see him, you know who it is. But the second he just looks up and you see his eyes, I was just like, instant fight or flight kicked in, and I was ready to run away. Because I was like, I've seen what he can do.
He'll haunt your nightmares.
Literally, he kidnapped half the senators in the building at one time on Coruscant. He does not mess around.
He went toe-to-toe hand combat with Obi-Wan Kenobi and survived.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with him, two things. When you see him walking in that distance, you see a little profile. I'm nerding out like a 4-year-old schoolgirl. Like, oh my God, it's Cad Bane. I was like, I knew who is this? This is a Sergio Leone fan here, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
But sitting right there next to my Star Wars movies. I grew up on this stuff. He looks a little bit more angular with that prolonged face in the Clone Wars show. Quite menacing. Beautiful design. Here, the character works really well. He comes in, he packs a punch, he blasts them, he walks off. The look of it is getting time to get used to for me. He looks a little bit too pretty. I was at Amon Amarth heavy metal concert here in New York City right before the pandemic, and they're having a song. It's a Viking-themed metal band, and they're singing about Thor. And just when the second Thor movie was coming out in theaters, and the main guy of the band, he's just making light of it. He's having fun with it. Obviously, they're proud as Scandinavian-based characters in the Marvel show, and they're having a movie. And the guy has like a Thor's hammer. So I was like, what do you guys think about the Thor in the movie? I think he's still pretty. He was just like, he was making fun of it. That's the same case here. His face is a little bit on the rounded side. Kind of like
it is.
I'm not gonna shy away from the term Disneyfied a little bit. He's like a Disney prince a little bit in a way. Like the cape looks dope. Like the hat looks nice. I love the fact that it's not overly accessorized, but when the pole hat lifts up and you see the face, just a bit on the cute side. Like you want to kiss him or something.
They seem to. So well, I'm glad you kind of you. It's like we talked about this beforehand. You softballed me this. I want to talk about this. So I saw some people have talked about how his design looks different from the Clone Wars. And one thing people have argued, I'm one of these people, is that he's aged a lot since the Clone Wars. Number one, like it's been how many years, right?
So he's probably, by this point, he's probably one of the oldest characters in the show.
He looks paler. So, which I see the Blue Pig just called out. He looks paler. So, people talked about.
Someone made the comment, like the Chiss, when they get older, they fade. They fade. So
he's
like
not
maybe it's the same.
Though.
No,
right,
but it's the
like
same principle.
Yeah, you can see that.
I'm looking Gans and what's their life cycle. You guys go on. I'm really curious about this little
detail.
So
this was something someone mocked up. Okay, so it said here's the original and here it is from the Clone Wars. Like that was what his face could look like, right? If it was adjusted. Okay,
well, it's not much of a difference.
And so what? Are you ready for this? So Kyle Katarn had tweeted out They do the same thing with Count Dooku.
I love it.
So
Kylo's awesome.
it's true though. I mean, it is a good reminder there was stylization to the Clone Wars show.
And like, I think the problem is like people need to understand sure, are there some things that are like super simple that you could pull it off, no problem? Yes, but there are times there has to be limitations. Like,
Well, this is a lot of practical effects here, Jimmy. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot
this
of
is all practical. I'm sure the eyes aren't, but like for it to
Has it
look
been
as
confirmed
practical
yet?
as it does, huh?
Has it been confirmed that like it's all practical?
I mean,
I'm
everything but
fairly
the
certain.
eyes, it's all just like aesthetics and makeup.
I felt
I'm
like
fairly
the first
certain I read
act
that
was
somewhere.
too animated around the mouth. I don't know. Was it? I'm curious.
Yeah,
Well-
he's got dentures in.
So I'll tell you
Okay.
why I'm fairly confident it's all practical besides the eyes, and I'll do some research. The reason his nose looks fatter and rounder than it does in the Clone Wars is because that's a prosthetic over an actual human nose.
And you can even
Right,
see it
right.
move
Puffs
when he's
it out.
breathing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you
Right.
can see it like the poor actor probably could. You see the bulge on the nose here? It's because that's an actual human nose behind that.
Yeah.
The mouth is got to be dentures. You could tell the piping's real. I could
Oh,
see
yeah.
the clear. Man, I mean, the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm just impressed. I'm like, damn it, I don't know.
It looks great. And you're like, I know a lot of people like they complained about Ahsoka's first appearance, and I know people were like, well, they did it with Shakti. I'm like, they did do it with Shakti. She also had one scene and she was sitting and not moving.
Yeah, exactly.
The practicality of what they have to do in makeup, you just have to accept that. Yes, Ben, I'm looking at you.
Guys, sorry to interrupt this. So check this out. According to Wikipedia, average lifespan of Duras is from 36 to 49 years old. From 50 to 69, they're considered old.
I've heard. So I'm glad you said that.
Interesting.
I've heard they are not like a long-living species. So he would be very old by their standards, is what I've heard.
How old is he in Clone Wars? Like in his
Got to be in his 30s.
He's
prime, I
got to
guess?
be like getting to the middle-aged point, but I guess maybe because they age differently, like he could have been like 18, but 18 for the Duros is like
No, he's too
30 for
experienced.
us.
He's too
No,
experienced.
he's got. I'm telling you, he's in his 30s. And here's the
Yeah.
other thing. He has modifications. I mean, so the
This is true.
tubing down his neck, I mean, is a thing already. So he can breathe in space, and so he can't be
True.
force choked. So like, it's obvious to me he is old, and you can almost tell by his mannerisms he was very Clint Eastwood-esque in this, which he always kind of has been. But he looked like that kind of cranky old man a little bit, where he was like, hey, like, and I absolutely love to tip the cap, again. I was really happy that they didn't like have him, in a close duel with like he just smoked him. I mean, he absolutely just smoked him and just unloaded a clip in the dude in the right. Like, hey,
You knew the outcome of it the moment you saw the silhouette.
Yeah, and I was very happy with that. I didn't want them to try to be like, ooh, Cobb Vanth is a quick duelist too. They were like, no, he's gonna live. We know that. He's like, no, and then he just unloads in the dude
I
next to
hope
him.
not.
Okay, we can do some math here.
Okay.
Cad Bane is ancient.
He's ancient.
The Wikipedia has him being born 62 BBY.
Wow, he would be.
Old.
He'd be in his 70s, right?
Yeah.
Like, he must be an
70s.
anomaly. Let's take it as an anomaly.
Hey, you know what? They have
Cybernetic
I'll
parts. Who
accept
knows?
it. Yeah.
He does though. We already know that he's got two, and so we already know he's been interested in doing. I see people in chat saying it too. I heard in some of the research, some of the other videos, people say he's in his 70s, and I'm about 99% sure that's kind of the idea. Which
Just made him so much more raw.
Plus, we also have to take into account what is a yearly cycle in Star Wars versus a yearly
True.
cycle for us.
It's
There's
true.
a lot of little
There's
technical
a lot.
stuff.
We get. He's
But yeah,
old.
you really have to take into account like how old is he?
But think about it. Boba Fett's old too. I mean, Tamir Morrison's in his late, and so Cad Bane was. Well, okay, that's getting a little.
He's old enough to smoke that Mandalorian or Marshall. Pow,
He
dude.
was.
Look, we got to say, like, I think the important part of having the deputy in that is like, for one, he was irritating to me. I did not like the deputy.
You're like, let's kill him real quick.
He's like, hey,
Well, he was a target. You knew that.
Mando shows up.
Like,
He's like, I'm here to
bullseye.
see the marshal. He's like, I don't think you heard what I said about your ship. And he's like,
Yeah, that
Dude,
poor guy was dead the
get out
minute he
of
came on screen.
so he walks out there trying to defend the sheriff or the marshal, and Cobb's like, go back inside, and I think this is why they did that. The opening of this episode shows how fast to the draw Cobb Vanth is. Takes out the 3 pikes instantly.
Yeah.
Looks at the fourth guy.
Did
Says,
you guys?
think it through. So, what's your thought, Ben?
Did you guys feel like there was almost a couple like relationship kind of vibe between the two? It's like go back inside. No. I kind of caught that because in the making of Ben-Hur, the original film, the script writer of the story, a director asked him to write the two main protagonists, which are two friends who grew up together, right? Ben-Hur and this Roman legionnaire called Messala. And he said, I want you to write these two characters as if they were lovers, because we need that kind of emotional peak in terms of conversation, and because they're going to break apart in the story. It almost felt like, I don't know why I was thinking that. It's like, it's kind of inconsequential in terms of what we're saying, but it just felt like a little bit like there's more than just friendship. It's like, I care about you. You need to sit your ass over here. You're not experienced enough. I'll take care of it.
I thought he looked at him like, I don't know, almost like a little brother kind of thing.
I was gonna say, because like he cares for like everyone in that town. I mean, he's like, no, you're not running spies through here. These people have seen enough.
Maybe I just read into it.
No, it's okay.
That's fine.
And to go where Jimmy was going. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jimmy. I was going.
You're fine. I was gonna say, he's like, and I think that's the big thing. He's like, please go back inside. I know what I'm doing here. You are new. There's a reason you're the deputy. There can't just be me. I need more people. You need this training. But the reason he's there is because if he wasn't, I will die on this hill. I think Cobb would have won the shootout. I really do. Because he turned and looked at the deputy right as Cad pulled out his gun, shot him in the shoulder, and then I will give credit to Cad.
He was compromised.
He had time to literally pull out his gun, shoot Cobb Vanth in the shoulder, put 4 bolts in the deputy before the deputy even had his gun out.
Yeah.
So he's fast, but I really think it would have been a little different had the deputy not been a loudmouth.
It would have been closer. I agree. I mean, they did basically set it up to where the deputy's recklessness did cost both of them.
Or I could also make the argument that because the deputy was there, that's the reason Cobb survived. It probably distracted Cad a little bit, so he shot him in the shoulder instead. I could go either way. I do not think Cobb is dead.
I
don't.
I hope he is. I mean, I like him, but once again, it was just like diminished the impact of that scene. It's like, but
I think he did survive. I think they were trying to be like, the impact was supposed to be that like Cad Bane like unloaded into the innocent guy. Well, the innocent guy, the young guy. He was just like, hey, he's dead, and I'll just pump out a few. And they did that with the clones, by the way, in the Order 66. Did you notice some of the clones, like after they killed the Jedi, were kind of like in for good measure, like unloaded?
Yeah.
I was like,
I don't know. This whole thing, like I saw someone tweet after this episode, they were like, I want a Cobb Vanth show. And I was like, yeah, me too. And then I was like, well, I don't think there'd be much of a story to tell. So just give me a book. Give me a Cobb Vanth book. Anyone from Disney
Book
watching?
of Cobb Vanth?
No. Star Wars Martial Law.
Hey.
Take it and run with it. You can have the idea. Let John Jackson Miller write it.
You're talking about these, like the journals?
No, like I want like that'd be cool, but like just give me an actual standalone book about Cobb Vanth. That'd be great.
I'll tell you, for me, one thing that's key about that, I don't know if this stuck out to you either with the Cad Bane scene. You know, he's basically like, hey, stay out of it. We're gonna be running drugs here. If you guys don't interfere with running drugs, we'll leave you alone. You know, like that's it. Like that's the deal here. And he's like, no, we don't want spies coming through here. And he's like, Boba Fett is a cold-blooded killer who worked for the Empire. Like, there's no moral high ground here. I thought it was interesting they pulled that card out, because one of the big complaints people about the show is like, well, this Boba doesn't seem like he's a hardcore killer who works for the Empire. He seems a lot more soft. So I do kind of wonder what will, how that'll play in things going forward. Anyway,
I really think Cad's involvement is what's going to make the people of Freetown help Boba.
I think what they did, this is my personal opinion. Yeah, I'm with Jimmy. I think they used Cad Bane shooting Cobb Vanth to inspire the town to go fight against the Pike. So when they come next episode, they'll be like, for Cobb Vanth, they shot our guy.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think they did. I think the next episode is going to be kind of the all out. It's going to be your Avengers 1, where it's going to be like, I mean, I honestly, at this point, because I've been wrong about every prediction so far, at this point, I think Luke, so the episode ends with the choice for Grogu. Does he pick the saber or does he pick the Beskar? Which I thought was cute. I actually liked that the show addressed like Grogu didn't really seem that interested in being a Jedi. And it's like, I'm kind of happy they like showed like, yeah, he's out there training, but like he really doesn't seem like that excited about it, right? Which I thought was kind of cool. Like, it's not just like he was taken by Luke and immediately he's like a savant of the Force and he's, hardcore training. It's like, no, he's still like kind of a kid who doesn't, didn't have that structure and, is trying to eat frogs all day. But I think at this point, Luke is pulling up with Grogu during the fight and they're going to be out there. It's going to be Luke and Grogu. It's going to be Boba on a Rancor. It's going to be Black Chrysanthemum. It's going to be Fennec Shand.
100%.
I think
Han Solo.
I do think we're going to get Han. I think 100%. That's going to happen. I don't think we're getting Luke, but this is what I think is going to happen because
Luke. All right, Leia couldn't make it, but
you had Cad Bane come
Mara
in.
Jade. No, I'm just kidding.
No, Cad Bane comes in. And...
Sorry.
Cad Bane comes in and just furthers my point that this is like a mafia kind of style show. You went to a rival gang, killed one of them, so you're going to get the backlash from that. So they're going to team up with Boba. But here's what I'm excited for, and I'm wondering, no one has talked about this on Twitter that I've seen. We're probably going to get another show off between Fennec and Cad Bane.
Most likely.
Yeah.
It starts to feel, all of it begins to feel like a Disney ride of the crime syndicate of Star Wars, and you never get enough of anything. You're just like, hey, look, Boba Fett, oh, Mandalorian, oh, look over here. It's going to be CGI Han Solo. Leia's going to pop up over here.
I'm telling you what's going to happen.
It's going to be all over before you remember any of it.
See,
dude.
I think you missed it, guys. They said in this episode, in the one scene Boba was in, they said the Pikes have been amassing like a huge army. Right. And the reason they said that is because if Luke was going to show up for like 15 Pike guys, we'd be like, wait, they needed Luke Skywalker
for this?
But if there's like thousands of Pikes, it's going to be like, well, yeah, I mean, we saw the Pikes against the Jedi in the Clone Wars. Like, they can be formidable, right? So if you got like hundreds and thousands of Pikes, then you justify Luke having to come in and be like, all right, I'm back on my home planet.
Like,
I'm returning to Tatooine.
Luke doesn't know what's going on.
He's going to pull up with Grogu conveniently at that time. I'm telling you right now. Here's what's going to happen. Din Djarin's going to be compromised. He's going to maybe be close to death. I don't know. Something's about to stab him and it's going to start floating. And it's going to flash over. And it's going to be Grogu like just force choking that dude. I'm telling you, money right now. That's what's happening.
I say, to be just, this is Tatooine. You guys are prequel fans. To make it all solid, Anakin's ghost. Come back, protect the sands of Tatooine, and just how like Yoda in episode 8, he was like knocking Luke with the stick with like physical properties, just walking in there, ghost style, but just like young, hating Christian, and just rock everybody. We don't need Luke for this.
So this comment here said, I don't think Luke would care what's going on. And you know what would be the funniest thing? Is if Luke comes, drops off Grogu, and just nopes out. Like, people are like dying. He's like, that's your problem.
You're sitting there trying to reattach the arm to one of the mods, and he's just like, hey, here's your kid. Bye.
Yeah, you figure that out. It just flies out. Like, this kid didn't want to train with me.
Hey, Watto could watch out for him for a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Is Watto alive at this time or no? Is he mentioned in the books?
How old are they? Yeah, that's a good. Oh man, that would be something.
He's Jewish. Jews survive for a long time. I know that.
Yeah, that's true.
Which character are we talking about now?
Watto.
From
be like somebody. Public credits are no good here.
that would be the real fight. He comes out like half robotic at this point. I'll tell you guys. I've just scripted the final fight scene, and it's going to be perfection at this point. I mean, this is...
What is it?
I just laid it out. I mean, it's going to have everyone. I mean, it's going to have Luke. It's going to be wild. I mean, it's going to be...
To get back on track, to be honest with you, I think how they can expand this season into something that's greater in regards to future of Boba Fett and the rest of the cast is I know a lot of us Legends fans and even the comic book modern fans have been waiting for Dengar, Zuckuss, Forlom, all of these like traditional Mandalorians that you see on the ship, right? Of Executor in episode 5. You can still legitimately bring them in for the season finale and say like, but no, guys, this episode is not resolving the entire war. It's just showing us like, hey, everybody shoulder to shoulder. We're going into it. Boba Fett is calling out on all the favors from the past that we see in the modern comic books. you could have what's the cyborg's name? The Vantage. What's his face?
Oh, the one I mentioned to you on Twitter.
Yeah, the Terminator one.
I don't know his
Valance.
name.
Valance.
Yeah,
You could have Valance. You could have Dengar. You could have all of these dudes come in and say, "Hey, this is the muscle. This is a big army." And season 1 is only the tip of the iceberg.
That would be cool.
Want to see the real war? Season 2.
That would be cool.
I think if we see all those characters, I think they're going to be split 50-50. Like we'll have some with Boba, the rest are going to be with Cad Bane.
Yeah.
Well, the Pikes got big money.
They all backstab each other in the new comic books, regardless.
Yeah,
but you could bring them into the show and justify it.
To comment here, Max Rebo is not dead. There's been a lot of people who looked at the scene yesterday, and he was not playing that night. Rebo survived.
He was off. He had a day off.
He was. Hey, I want to say a couple things before we get canceled here. Ben is Jewish, so when he made that joke, he was talking about himself. So before we get banned from the internet, I want to make sure that
I don't think we'll be banned from it.
Hey, look, Disney watches my streams. All right, so they.
Wait, are you serious?
I wish.
You know what?
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good.
I was about to say
that's a pretty good. I mean, you got cosplay right there.
Yeah.
You got the cosplay right there. Hey, before we forget, it's coming to the end of the stream. There's some things that kind of broke late that I want to talk about. Is that okay? Can we talk about some breaking news, guys? Here we go.
What do you know that we don't?
Let's get the share going.
Merchandise.
Okay. No, it is not merchandise. So today they announced this Kenobi. Can this website have any more ads on it? Oh my goodness. Today, I'm gonna open this image.
What is this trying to say?
So today it was announced there was a new Kenobi comic. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys see that? Okay.
I see.
This guy right here, Brandon San Giovanni. He works as like the executive product director of Disney Plus. He works as like a product director at Disney Plus. Okay. So when they were doing the comic announcement, he tweeted, "Our very own Obi-Wan will be saying hello there on Disney Plus May 2022." And he like immediately deleted it. And he tried to recover it saying, "Oh no, I was talking about the comic." And everyone's like, "You put Disney Plus in the tweet that you deleted." So there are strong rumors, strong feelings that Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Kenobi show, might be here in
I hope he's not getting fired.
May. It may be here in May, which would be a bomb. That would be a bombshell. I would give, hey, if that's true, huge claps to Disney for keeping that secret that we were only 3 months away from Kenobi.
I really think we're getting Bad Batch in May before Kenobi.
I would too. I would think the same thing.
Yeah.
I would truly believe that he meant to tweet it out about the comic, but out of excitement, put Disney Plus, realized it, and was like, now I've got everyone going, oh God.
But let me play devil's advocate.
Sure.
What way would you ever get that confused? Like, let's say I work for Disney Plus and a comic gets announced and I'm like, hey, Obi-Wan Kenobi's coming to Disney Plus. It's like, wait, I can't, like, if it was like Kathleen Kennedy, who like is over all of Star Wars, and maybe got confused between their products, I'd get it. But like, if I specifically, he doesn't even work for Lucasfilm. He works for Disney. Like, that's the kicker. If it was like, Christina Ariel, who works, as does work for Lucasfilm, and she's involved in a lot of their I could see her having a Freudian slip there or something, but like this to me, it's like, what is this guy doing? I don't know. I'm buying into the hype here, guys, but I'm just saying, like, it's fascinating.
I know you got a show, but like,
why did he spell it as "we be," as if it's something like a childish, like gibberish language?
I would say he literally was trying to say "will," but left off the L. So like that's one cycle. Right. There's probably more. Yeah. And I would say that because like I've made videos where I have a script in front of me and I completely misspeak and I don't even catch it until I already hit upload. So it happens.
I think Kenobi makes much more sense for Christmas season.
I'm telling you, this guy messed up.
The only reason I don't think Christmas is because they've said that it's supposed to come out in the spring. So,
that's been talked about.
Let's everyone pull up the calendars. Let's look at May 4th. What day is May 4th?
May 4th.
Someone tell me what day of the week it is.
I'm gonna guess it's a Tuesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Oh,
all right.
Bad Batch.
I'm telling you, Bad Batch makes sense. I'd buy Bad Batch 100%. But this guy completely turned my mind around.
I mean, hey, if it is Kenobi, like, I'm not going to be mad.
This guy's
I just
bio,
want a damn trailer.
This
Guys, I
guy's
had a
bio.
question for you actually. Which
All right, wait a second. Wait a second. We got it. This guy's bio. This is the guy who tweeted it. Is the Disney Plus global management at Disney Streaming, lover of film and games, editor of the Disney Streaming Tech blog. Why is he tweeting about an Obi-Wan comic? He doesn't even work. I'm telling you, he thought they announced it. He's because you know when they're gonna announce it? I'm playing full conspiracy theory here, guys. They're gonna announce it at the end of Book of Boba Fett next week. When the finale comes next week, they're gonna be like, the next show coming, Kenobi trailer. We're gonna be like,
little cliffhanger at the end.
Is
right?
that gonna be the end credit scene? Is it
that's gonna be the
Kenobi?
after credit. They're gonna try to have, and so he got confused. He thought, like, I see everyone on Twitter tweeting about this huge Book of Boba Fett last night. Plus, I see Kenobi trending on Twitter. They finally announced it. He starts typing it out. He hits send, and then look at this, guys. This is
if that's the case, then I'm going to chalk this up to say it is not his fault.
This is what happens. Look at this. Look at him try to retcon this, guys. What did it say? Let me find his. Look at his backpedaling.
You're going in deep, man.
I am. I'm going deep, boys. Look at this back.
Don't go flat earther on us.
This is what he goes. He goes. So after he deletes the tweet, he goes, "This is a comic, to be clear. Mixed 2 tweets that I will now shame myself eternally." And he turns off and he replies, "You can't reply to this. You can't." Why did he do that? If it's just a mistake, why didn't he say, "Hey guys, I just messed up. I'm a goof. That's my tinfoil hat, flat earther take. Thanks for letting me go down the rabbit hole with me." May 4th, we just got the first leak. Kenobi's coming out in 3 months. Thanks everyone. That's
DH Alec Guinness.
Come on.
All right, guys. Question.
Yes.
As just somebody who appreciates the wizardry, filmmaking, and seeing that vast improvement on Luke's face, and now Jim, that you mentioning that the voice is completely synthesized, it's not even voice performed. I was 90% convinced that particular version of Luke, effect/digital actor, or on top of regular actor, kind of works.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? Would you guys be down to see a Luke's adventures kind of show from the Journey of the Wills post episode 6, where he doesn't necessarily need Leia and Han Solo in tow, or Lando Calrissian? He goes about his own journey of discovering, Jedi lore. Would you still prefer a newly cast actor? Would you be down? Did this particular episode, as a sales pitch, convinced you that you would rather see a de-aged Mark Hamill? Or the third option I just made a meme today for my Facebook group. Would you go with a version of Luke Skywalker that it's animated, but it's fully voiced by Mark Hamill?
I'll tell you right now, my gut thought, I could maybe be convinced, is animated, because I have to be honest with you, I think Star Wars is just absolutely exceptional when it's animated.
Yeah.
I think from Bad Batch Rebels to Clone Wars, they have just been like phenomenal. Like, they don't miss. And so to me, I am a big advocate for more, and Visions. Sorry, let me just throw that in there. I know it's not the same thing, but let me just throw that in there too. Star Wars is killing it in the animation game. And so that's what I want for the High Republic. I want a High Republic animated show. I think it would fit that era really well too, like the animation style. We talked about Tales of the Jedi. I want to see that animated. Like, there's so many ways. So that's my gut take, is if we're going to see more Luke, I'd love to see it if they did it animated. But you are right, Ben, to play with your initial concept. It is getting more and more serviceable to just, what we saw yesterday was a CGI character. It sounds silly because it's like, well, no, it is a fully deep faked face with a fully deep faked voice. That person doesn't exist. You saw yesterday. It's made up.
Yeah.
And so it's getting passable, and it's going to be there in 5 years to where we could literally have actors that, we can't see young Luke anymore. No, he could have his own show. The technology is getting that good.
Yeah.
I think if money, I swear, if my connection cuts out one more time.
That was a heavy thought there. It just
right.
Pause for a second.
If money was not an issue, I think I would like to see it try to be done in live action. I just don't know how it would land. I can't imagine it being cheap to make the whole deepfake thing. And if you're going to make a whole 7 to 8 episode series, the amount of work you're going to have to put in to track that to make sure it looks just as good as we've currently seen it, it's going to be really hard. Animation might be better. I don't know.
What would you personally prefer?
I think I would really like to see it in live action. I really would.
With that particular effect?
Yes.
I'm down with the Sebastian Stan.
See, I kind of feel conflicted because they are talking about how they are honoring, late Carrie Fisher, and how they didn't want to recast her and stuff like this. And obviously they had to work with repurposed footage. But to me, it takes away from the artistry of acting. And it's kind of, I'm not going to go as far as saying it disrespects, Mark Hamill's career. In this particular episode, it works more as an effective trinket. It's like, hey guys, by the way, we can do this now. Check this out, right? But I think sooner or later, they need to make a commitment and say, here is a Sebastian Stan option. Here's another. Even the kid that they hired as a stand-in, he has that useful kind of archetype that George Lucas was looking for when he was hiring for Mark Hamill. Right. He wanted somebody who looks like a village bumpkin, like insignificant-looking young man who aspires and attains greatness. I think sooner or later it needs to happen. If we're gonna see a live-action version of it, I don't think I want to see this effect again.
I think it's okay for this purpose of recreating a character. Because the big thing is like when Rogue One came out and they put Tarkin in there. Yeah. The big thing about it was like, wow, this is a big leap for technology, although it's not perfect yet. But then a lot of people started coming out and talking about directing movies with actors that are no longer with us.
No longer alive.
And they wanted to CGI their entire body into the role of the character they wanted them to play. And that became a big discussion. If we start doing stuff like that,
the moral aspect
absolutely not. Do not do that.
Yeah.
If you're just trying to bring back the character at a time where now you can no longer do that, I think it's a little better. And I mean, obviously, like Mark Hamill doesn't have a problem with it. He was even there and stood in as Luke when they filmed that scene in The Mandalorian. So, I mean,
he gave consent. Like, you do this with
they're not using his voice either. He's there just for visual reference.
Yeah, he literally. You've got to watch that. It's on Disney Plus, but if you get a chance, the making of
I need to get to it. Yeah, I know it's there. I just didn't get to it yet.
Yeah, it's just you don't have to watch all of them. Just the last episode. It's called like the making of the finale, and he literally was basically there just to pay respect to the character. He nothing you see on screen is actually him.
Like they literally pretty much shot the entire thing, but he walks through the door, takes the hood off, and it is actually Mark Hamill at his age.
But you don't see it.
Yeah. One of the reasons I asked you guys about comparing the hallway Luke scene versus the Return of the Jedi scene, a lot of fans were telling me that, oh my God, this is how to do Luke. They paid a complete respect and homage to the character. I just felt like stylistically his fencing style was different. I didn't connect with that in that way. I thought it was beautifully choreographed, but vastly different from the old Luke because
they kind of talk about that.
With the lightsaber, the only cool edgy poses. I'm like, no, this is quite different.
They talk a little bit about that in the making of why his style changed. Yeah, they do. I'm not sure the explanation will satisfy you, but they do address it. So it's a really good watch. I loved it. I watched this weekend as well, guys. So I watched Solo. Speaking about de-aged actors versus casting new, I watched Solo on Saturday, and I'm fine with casting young actors to play these characters. I lean in that camp. I think they could do it well. I think this is not the same thing, but with characters like 007 or with Batman, who are constantly recast as the existing actors age out, I find that you can continue to connect with those. I know it's not the same thing. I know 007 and Batman are different than a character like Han Solo.
It's a mantle, yeah.
Right, I get it. It's a man. I understand. But that does not mean more than one actor could not really play the same character extremely well, is my point.
I'll move away from the character. Do other Jedi.
Exactly.
Yes.
There we go. And I think the three of us are all aligned there. That's one thing that you're going to hear big consistency is I think we're all fans of exploring different spaces in Star Wars because it gives you a lot of creative freedom that these shows have limits on.
Yeah.
They do. And I think that's a good stopping place for the night as we wrap up this long conversation on an episode that for nothing else gave us a ton of things to chat about with the community and as friends. And I'm satisfied with the show. I'm excited for the finale. There's been some great moments, but I am team. Let's see something new. Of course, Kenobi is like top of my list, and I'm hoping the show is vastly different than what we've seen in streaming so far. Yeah, I hope it is. I want nothing more than Kenobi to be the best thing in Star Wars I've ever seen. It could be. I mean, but as a prequel era fan, it's got me already hooked with just the casting alone. But we, as big High Republic fans here, as new Jedi Order fans, I am starting to read them along with Jimmy. I'm reading Vector Prime. I'm exploring new areas and times. Now, obviously, Vector Prime is still connected to the Skywalkers, but it's vastly different than what we've seen and continue to play with. These different eras and segments in Star Wars are really fun to explore. We can branch out from that small period in time. I hope they do.
Definitely agree.
Are you guys ready for the next week's deep fake Han Solo?
I will be kind of stunned if they do it. I've been wrong on everything. So the fact that I'm saying he's not going to be there means he will. But because the difference is Mark Hamill loves Star Wars and Harrison Ford hates it. And so it's kind of weird to get Harrison Ford to buy in. Like every time they try to get Harrison Ford excited about anything Star Wars, he's like, I don't give a crap.
It's stigma. I think it's stigma attached to the actor. He's just playing off of it because he gets fans riled up.
It's true.
Say versus Alec Guinness.
It's true when they are paying him. Yeah, that's a good point.
Versus Alec Guinness, who truly despised Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's each their own.
Because he thought it defined his career, which had such a body of work.
Hey, I think.
Get ready, guys.
I'm ready.
I'm here, Luke. Oh, this is Boba Fett. Why am I in Tatooine again?
Well, thank you guys for stopping by. I can't wait. I can't wait to be here next week because we're going to have a great time talking about whatever happens. So thank you guys for being here. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll be back next week. I'm excited, guys. We'll see you again.